4 from the Competent Communication Manual, How to Say It. She'll be speaking for 5 to 7 minutes, and the title of her speech is The Underwater Planet. Tiffany would love to have your feedback on how she meets the 3 goals out of the book and 1 extra goal that she's thrown in. First is using words and sentence structure that communicate the ideas clearly, accurately, and vividly. Using rhetorical devices to emphasize her ideas is number 2. And number 3 is to make sure she doesn't use unnecessary words or jargon. And lastly, Tiffany would also like your feedback on whether or not you, as the audience, felt like you were really sharing the underwater experience. So get your air tanks and your virtual fins in place, and let's welcome Tiffany David.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. I was going to put these on, but it broke. So. Would have been great. Imagine it. I was almost 3 years old when we put a man on the moon. I don't remember that exact moment, but as I was growing up, I do remember the black and white television footage of that lunar landing. The jet puff marshmallow spacesuits that they wore, the big fishbowl helmet that was very mysterious because you couldn't see their faces. And even the auditory beeps and cracks and statics that you would hear as they were communicating with mission control. One small step for man, a giant leap for mankind. At that point, I thought, I want to do that. I want to explore other worlds, other planets, and I really wanted to be that astronaut. In my 18th year, that dream came true. And I knew it had come true when I looked down and I saw the same silty gray surface, almost like cornstarch. And I was without gravity, just floating. And I even heard that and the tick, tick, tick. Now I wasn't on another planet. And the tick, tick, tick were actually the fish that were eating the coral not too far away from me. And I was about 30 feet under the ground. But I felt like I was exploring another world. And I thought, why did nobody tell me that this existed? So today I wanted to share with you my love of my favorite sport, which is scuba diving. You may think that you know what scuba stands for, but I would like to share with you the way that I relate to scuba in kind of a different way. So for me, the S stands for surprise. When I was pulling on that loner wetsuit, and it smelled like the ocean, and more, it smelled a little bit like Davy Jones' locker. I don't think it was the right size, but boy, I wanted to wear it because I was starting off in La Jolla and it's cold out there. And I struggled, and by the time I got it on, I was sweating. And then I looked at the 30-pound tank of air I had to strap onto my back and put that on. And all the while, I've got this weight belt around my waist, sticking into my hips. And I was clunking to the shore, and the surprise came when all of a sudden I was weightless again. And that just melted away. And I was able to kick out to the dive spot and just enjoy leaning back on this buoyancy compensator, my air pillow. It was worthy, wonderful, and wild, just like that lunar landing. The C of scuba stands for a companion. We have a special language of scuba divers, and that involves sign language and a bit of vaudeville expression under our mask. For example, if you want to ask your buddy, are you okay? You do that by circling your thumb and forefinger, and you raise your eyebrows. Are you okay? I'm all right. I'm okay. That's quite different from this, which means underwater, I'm going up. That's not, are you okay? So that's a big difference. And you might understand this intuitively. There's another expression that we have when your buddy's eyes get really wide like saucers and they do a frantic slashing motion against their throat. That means they're getting really low on air, or perhaps they're out and they want to share yours. Nobody likes to see that one. The U in scuba is for uncanny. I have seen some things that I'd like to share with you that are mind-blowing. Off the tip of Baja in Mexico, about 60 feet underground, or under the water, is an underwater waterfall. And that happens by the sand and the silt falling down off of a ledge. And it looks like a beautiful waterfall. Now, I might want to mention to you that when you're down 60 feet, it might encourage or might experience the thing called nitrogen narcosis, which is also known as the 2 martini effect. You all of a sudden have this great feeling of well-being and lack of inhibitions, and that makes the waterfall all that much better. Worthy, wonderful, and wild. B is for boasting. So I get to tell you that my favorite dive spots are Hawaii and Belize. I have seen things there that are along the lines of amazing caves and lava tubes. I've been diving on wrecks of old ships. I've also seen some Technicolor cartoon-like coral reefs that make me feel like a kid at Disneyland. I've eaten like a king off of the lobster that I've caught, scallops, mussels. And there's even this one place where the moray eels are familiar with the divers that come to the area, and you can feed them a bit of sea urchin, and they come and they eat right out of your hand. And they're actually not as ugly up close as you might think. A is for adventure. No sport is without its risks. And when I was diving in Mexico one time, I actually had to, because the current came up so quickly, drag myself holding onto rocks along the bottom to get back to my boat. Because as hard as I was kicking, I was moving backwards. Another time in Catalina, my secondary got caught in the rocks as I was trying to lift myself up onto the shore, and I didn't realize that. I was getting pummeled without my regulator or snorkel, taking in water. But I still love it. So scuba, to me, is one of the best sports for appreciating this other planet that we have on Earth. And I would encourage you to do the same. If it is going to the shore during your lunch break and listen to the rhythm of the waves. If it's finally booking that whale watching trip so you can get your sea legs and play with the dolphins a bit. Or perhaps it's sitting on the shore and painting a watercolor just to appreciate the area that we live in. I'd like to share with you a quote in ending from another explorer and female author, Cheryl Strait. To know that seeing the fish beneath the surface of the water was enough, that it was everything. It was my life, like all lives, mysterious and irrevocable and sacred. So very close, so very present, so very belonging to me. How wild it was to let it be.
Anita's timer, can I have a minute on the clock, please?